Hello everyone. Let's get today's lecture started by going through demo problems for range built-in function. I'll be using Python Tutor to go through these demos. You can go to the course website, click on Tools and Python Tutor. Then you need to click on Live Programming Mode. Please make sure to open Python Tutor in order to follow along. I have initialized a variable word with a string value of Python. Demo problem 1 is going to be about displaying every character of word using the range built-in function. Let's first display each character of word using a simple for loop. Recall that the syntax for loop is for some variable in some other variable colon. The variable that should come after the n keyword will be word here. That's because word is initialized to the string sequence. Let's use the first variable as val. For every iteration of this particular for loop, you're going to take one character out of the string sequence and assign that value into the variable val. I can call the print function by passing val as argument in order to display each character of word. How do we have to modify this particular for loop to use the range built-in function? Recall that the range built-in function takes an integer value as argument and produces the values from 0 up until the integer argument value -1. If we have to use the range built-in function to step through each character in this particular string sequence, we need to pass the length of the string sequence as an argument to the range built-in function call. Let's do a quick recap on len function. Recall that the len function enables us to compute the number of items within any kind of sequence. Len of word is going to return a value of 6. That's because there are 6 characters in this particular string sequence. Recall that the len function always returns one value greater than the last possible index position. The first index position is always going to be 0. So character P is at index position 0, character Y is at index position 1. Similarly, character N is at index position 5. Since len is going to return one value greater than the last possible index position, it's going to come in very handy for us to combine len function call with the range built-in function call. That's because the range built-in function call produces the values from 0 up until the integer argument -1, correct? So let me comment out line number 3 here, and I'm going to replace word with range of len of word. Range built-in function call is going to give us the index positions. So let's change this particular variable as index instead of val. Always make sure to use meaningful variable names. Whenever you're using the range built-in function call to create a for loop, you should use a variable like I or index or idx, whichever you prefer. Right now, this particular for loop is only displaying the index positions, which are from 0 through 5. Let's also make it display the corresponding character at that particular index position. Recall that you need to do indexing to take out one particular character from a string sequence. The syntax for indexing is the variable name for the sequence, which is word, then open square bracket, close square bracket. Within the square brackets, you need to mention the position that's going to be given inside the variable index, correct? That's what the range built-in function enables us to do. It enables us to iterate over every index position for a given sequence, which is word here. Observe that now we are getting the display output as both the index position and the corresponding character. Let's move on to demo problem 2. Demo problem 2 is going to be about displaying each of the character in word 3 times. I'm going to copy paste the code from demo problem 1. Let's get rid of the display for index here. Given one character, it's very easy for us to replicate that 3 times because we can simply multiply that by 3. Recall that you can multiply a string by an integer to replicate the string that many number of times as given by the integer value. And now we are going to get the expected display of PPP, YYY, TTT, etc. Problems 1 and 2 don't require you to use the range built-in function. You can very well solve both of these problems just using a simple for loop, as I just showed you before we started using the range built-in function. Demo problem 3 is going to be a proper use case for the range built-in function. Instead of displaying every character 3 times, we are going to display this half pyramid structure where we want to display P in one line, Py in another line, Pyt in another line, so on until we are able to display Python. If you want to take out one character out of a string sequence, you'll have to use indexing. If you'll have to take out multiple characters out of a string sequence, you need slicing for that. We are going to use slicing to solve this particular problem. Let me first paste the code from demo problem 2, and I'm going to get rid of this multiplier by 3 part of this expression over here. In order to create a slice, you need two values, correct? The syntax for slicing is start colon end. Neither the start nor the end are mandatory. If I just put in a colon within the square brackets here, that's going to create a copy of the entire string sequence. Observe that you're getting Python 6 times over here when I say print of word colon. Let's change this and we are going to try to get to this particular display over here. So every iteration of this particular for loop gives you an index position. What we want to be able to do is create a slice from the beginning of the string up until that particular index position, correct? So I'm going to type in 0 for the start of the slice and index for the end of the slice. Let's look at the output here. Observe that you're getting an empty line for the first iteration. Let's try to go through the first iteration over here. I'm going to comment out all the lines of code in the above two demo problems so that we can use the first button here. So when I click on next, that's going to initialize the index variable with a value of 0, correct? We are trying to create a slice from 0 up until 0. The important thing for you to remember about slicing is that the start position is inclusive and the end position is exclusive, meaning that you'll not include the character in the end position, but you'll include the character in the start position. Since we are trying to create a slice of 0 colon 0, that doesn't really make any sense to Python. Let me show you one particular example here. Let's try to use indexing to get the first character out. I'm going to say word of 0. That's going to give us the character P. What if I say word of 0 colon 0? Observe that Python is giving nothing. Since the end index is exclusive, Python is getting confused when you're saying give me a slice from 0 colon 0 because you're effectively saying give me nothing since end is exclusive. So we need to make sure that we don't use 0 colon 0 as the slice here. So the first iteration is going to produce the index value of 0. If we want to not use that, we just need to increment that value by 1, correct? And that's going to enable us to create this particular pyramid structure over here. I'll wrap up this video here. In the next video, we'll start our discussion on the topic of lists.